Can everyone hear me? I hope they can. It's actually quite difficult.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Being the third speaker when you have speakers like Rohini and PTR ahead, because they've said everything that you pretty much thought you would say, and they've said it with such grace and such competence. It's very hard to give up. But I will try. I have to say that what I think both speakers before me highlighted, which is also something I would like to highlight, is empathy. I liked what Rohini said about idealism and about how civil society, that government is only an extension, should only be an extension of society. And it should be the backup. We have Samaaj in the front and we have Sarkaar and markets in the back. And following up from that is also what PTR said. He said that it's not that governments have an outlay and they have to spend it, and that's when you have gaps. We should actually start from the bottom of the pyramid, see what and hear and listen to what the beneficiary needs. And everything really has to be tailored around that, rather than a Sarkar making up its mind that I will spend X on Y, and then we have all these gaps. So this is great learning, and I think 70 years after independence, a lot of state governments are doing very good work based on that same principle. I've also been a great admirer of the Dravidian movement and the Trinamool Congress also, of which I am a part. Our state government is Trinamool, means grassroots. So we would like to believe that we start everything from the grassroots. One of the things that we're talking about is empathy. And empathy in India is, I would say in some ways, when PTR mentioned, he said that it's really most unsettling to see people who are not very competent get elected over and over again. And that is something that has bothered me for a very long time. I keep thinking, what is the mystery of somebody who's really not done very much work at all get elected? And sometimes the answer to that is empathy, because I see a lot of public representatives who don't actually do any work on the ground. When you try and measure them up with any parameters, how many roads have you built, how much work have you done, it's zero. But when you ask people, why do you vote for them? And they say, oh, well, he's here. If there's a birthday party, he comes. If there's an Annaprasan ceremony, we get him. We can go to his house and he listen to us for 2 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it may be. So they don't actually measure him or her by the amount of work that is actually on the ground, but the fact that that person is available to connect at an emotional level and at an empathetic level actually goes a long way as a public representative. So that's one part of empathy, which is a good thing, but may not be very good when it comes to delivery of systems. The other thing that I wanted to point out is when I first came to India and I entered public life, one of the things that struck me, I've lived in Scandinavia, I've lived in the UK. One of the things that struck me was that here everyone runs after politicians. And I kept thinking, why? Why does every politician have 200 people running after them? And the first time you meet somebody, they say, oh, I know X or I know Y. I know this MLA, I'm very close to this MP. And I used to think, what's the thing? And then you think it is because in India, we have not give access to goods and services to people, especially to services. So people regard politicians or middlemen as a conduit to getting services. So if you know an MLA or you know an MP, it is a means to getting a hospital admission or a bed in a hospital where there is no bed available, or it is getting a road repair in front of their house when nobody is listening, or it is getting a school admission for a child. So I think as we develop and as state governments get better at doing bottom of the pyramid and direct last mile connectivity and delivery, this emphasis on the middleman or the politician, on the public representative as a conduit to get access to what should be available readily to everyone is going to die away. And that is, I hope, an India that I certainly am working for, that I feel after listening to PTR, he's working for, and definitely Rohinji has also been working for. So two of the things that I would like to sort of emphasize on are what the Bengal government has done. One of the things that PTR also pointed out was that having women as the center of delivery systems, because most households are managed by women and 50% of the population is women. And for a long time, it was only, I think, about 10 years ago that people woke up to the fact that we must have delivery systems aimed at women. Tamil Nadu has done this better. I remember even as a child reading about how the Tamil Nadu government would give idli making machines and dosa batter making machines to women. And at that time, we didn't understand why. But when you understand, when a woman of a household feeding 4 or 5 people, how much of a labor-saving device a mixer or a mixie, as it is called, can be when you're actually making dosa batter for everybody is very important. And using that going forward, even now, what Bengal has done is 2 very important schemes. One is what is called the Duare Sarkaar. Duar means door, and Sarkar obviously is Sarkar. So it's government at your doorstep. What would happen is, as we know, that you have block development offices everywhere. And one BDO or one block development officer serves 8 panchayats or 9 panchayats. And people have to travel 15 kilometers or 17 kilometers to come to the BDO office. And what we've seen through studies is, you will find the same people who come to the BDO office, and there's a bottom 10% or a bottom 20% that is never serviced, that don't come to the block office, and the block office can't get to them. So what we did was we've come up with this a program called the Duare Sarkaar, where there are 4 camps held in every GP. Every panchayat has 4 of these camps. It is held in a local school or in a local area, which is a catchment area for that particular village. So nobody has to come more than 1.5 kilometers. So 2 kilometers is the cutoff, that nobody will have to go more than 2 kilometers to a camp. And in this camp, every single major program of the government is there. There is no middleman. You go directly. If you're already a beneficiary and you're facing a problem, you can speak about it. If you're not a beneficiary and you need to sign up, you can do it. And there's a month, within 30 days, you will be enrolled if you're entitled for the program. This has been a great success in Bengal. We've had 1.7 crore enrollments, of which 1.5 has been just for one scheme, which is the Lakshmi Bandar scheme, which is giving the female head of household 1,000 rupees per month. And we've had a footfall of about 1 crore in the last Duare Sarkar camp, which has been an all-time high. The newest thing that we've come up with, also similar to what PTR said, was that 1,000 rupees per month to the female head of household. And this kind of helps, I think, Samaaj, Sarkar, and market. Because when the female head of household is getting an extra 1,000 rupees, then she's going out and she is spending it on the local market. And post-COVID, I think, because everyone got, the cash flow was so tight in families when there was just no cash post demonetization and post COVID, that this extra 1,000 rupees, this extra power has really helped the local economies get back on track. So this has been very important. One of the other things that we've done is a grievance redressal mechanism also at the bottom of pyramid level, a level called the Parai Samadhan. Para means a hutment or a very small locality. So it says that we've got 2,600 camps per month across Bengal, and you set them up in your area, and people can go and say, look, there's a lamppost outside my house that light hasn't worked for 2 years. I've told everyone the Pradhan isn't getting it fixed. Or the road outside or the drain outside my house, every monsoon gets flooded. My children can't go to school. I can't get it fixed. So this is the kind of direct complaint mechanism, not through a phone call, but you're actually talking to a human being at the Parai Samadhan camp, and you're putting it in. And the government is bound within a 30-day or a 60-day time frame to respond to it. So I think these are the kind of things that the government has done to show empathy. And all these programs, I think, which will take people forward, are going to be programs that are beneficiary-led, where we as sarkars and as markets listen to beneficiaries and tailor all the schemes around what they want. And I agree with PTR also. We've had a scheme called the Rupasri, which basically used to aid with weddings. And sooner or later, I think we'll have to do the same thing, because we've got something that helps people stay in school till you're 18, and they give you 25,000 rupees lump sum if a girl child has stayed in school without getting married till 18. And then we've given, when you get married after 18, the money. But there's also the downside of that, where people think that you're encouraging people to get married quickly in order to claim the money. So I think this scheme also needs to be tailored a little bit. But apart from that, I'm very thankful to Indus Action for doing the kind of work they've done in our area. And the fact that we've got together and we're talking about these things is very important. We definitely need to improve the data collection systems and the data storage systems. I too am appalled at the lack of any historical data sometimes. And even now, I don't think we're doing as good a job as we should to go forward. So future generations will have top class data to go forward with. I'm very happy that philanthropists like Rohini are in India, and they're working very hard, whether it's on water, whether it's on children's education, or all of this. So I hope together with the help of young people at Intersection that we can take this forward. Thank you again for inviting us, and God bless everyone. Thank you. This is absolutely what is happening on the ground. और मैं जब पहले विधायक बनी थी, मैं विधायक थी before I became an MP, मैं विधायक थी, और मुझे हर सुबह मुझे लगता था कि ऑफिस के बाहर लोग आ रहे हैं साइन कराने, क्या साइन कराने आते, कि हर कुछ छोटी छोटी चीज में साइन कराने आते, या प्रधान के साइन चाहिए, एमएलए के साइन चाहिए. And then slowly, I think now in the last 5 years, we have moved to a system where for widow pensions, where for Lakshmi Bhandar, for any of the big schemes, you do not need a signature of an MP or an MLA. All you need to do is to go to the BDO office or the block development office. It is purely administration based. So sooner, there's no other way apart from that. You'd have to go and apply there. And now that we've got these Duare Sarkaar camps, we are trying to even cut out the necessity of having to go to the block development office. If we can do it in that particular panchayat is what we are aiming to do. So the necessity, I think now, the only thing as an MP that I sign are frankly the Prime Minister's Relief Fund recommendations. And there's some kind of, I think, cancer treatment for the CM Relief Fund that requires an MP. So apart from these very specialized health-related things, for ordinary things, they would come and they would say patients in rural areas, they're going to Calcutta. This must be the same in Tamil Nadu also, where you've got somebody from Madurai who wants to go to Chennai, the government hospital in Chennai, and they need the MLA or the MP to sign something. And people would say, give us a referral note. So apart from that, I think now for literally all the beneficiary programs, there is no need for any MLA or MP to sign or any public representative sign. And going back to my earlier point, Tabassum ji, जो मैंने कहा था access के लिए, कि ये किसी के माध्यम से ये जो अपना उनको जो गारंटी होना चाहिए इन सब चीजों को मिलने के लिए, किसी के माध्यम से जाना पड़े, 10 बार किसी के पीछे बच्चे को घर के छोड़ के अगर वो बार-बार विधायक ऑफिस जाना पड़े, दौड़ना पड़े किसी महिला को, तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं? And I frankly feel ashamed that we have created a system where people are put through this. To get 1,000 रुपया, अगर 2,000 रुपया खर्च करना पड़े, I think it is absolutely shameful. It is shameful. And we have to get better at this. And, this is a great point that you built up. We have done something. Duare Sarkaar is aimed exactly at eliminating this. And I hope in the next 3 years or 5 years that this will be a thing of the past. कि किसी citizen को कोई public representative के पीछे भागना नहीं पड़े, उनका ऑफिस नहीं जा पड़े, वहां इंतजार नहीं करना पड़े लाइन में to do this. I really hope this कि सब कुछ हम direct जितना possible beneficiary के पास पहुंचाएं. योजना हमने एक्चुअली 4 साल हो गए बंगाल में हम ले चुके हैं, और हर गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में हम ऑलरेडी वो जो सैनिटरी नैपकिन वेंडिंग मशीन, वो ज्यादातर हम सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप से बनाते हैं, जो हमारे हर जगह होता है, और हर ब्लॉक में ट्राई कर रहे हैं. अभी हर ब्लॉक में अभी तक हुआ नहीं है वो इंसिनरेटर वाला, क्योंकि उनका जो प्लास्टिक शीट होता है उसका वो सैनिटरी नैपकिन मेकिंग का जो एक यूनिट आता है, उसमें विद इंसिनरेटर विदाउट इंसिनरेटर होता है, एक प्लास्टिक शीट वाला जो होता है, तो वो हर ब्लॉक में ही वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू इट. बट जहाँ पे हर ब्लॉक में नहीं भी है तो भी कहीं और से प्रोक्योर करके मोस्ट स्कूल्स में आई थिंक वी हैव गॉट 95% कवरेज ऑफ द सैनिटरी नैपकिन वेंडिंग मशीन्स इन मोस्ट ऑफ द स्कूल्स. And it is being sold at a very nominal rate, I think 2 rupees or 2 rupees 50 paisa. And we will try and make it free. As of now, it is not yet free. It is, I think, 2 rupees or 2 rupees 50 paisa, but which is just, I think, at cost. But as far as महिला को टॉयलेट is concerned, गर्ल्स स्कूल में ये हमने बहुत तेजी से और बहुत जिम्मेवारी से हर गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में किया, क्योंकि ये बहुत प्रॉब्लम था. क्लास 8 ये हमने स्टडीज देखे थे राजस्थान और कोई स्टेट में जहाँ पे बहुत हाई ड्रॉप आउट रेट है, 14-15 ईयर ओल्ड, 12 to 14 ईयर ओल्ड में बहुत हाई ड्रॉप आउट रेट है. और यही एक मेन कारण है, क्योंकि गर्ल्स स्कूल्स में टॉयलेट नहीं थे और अलग टॉयलेट्स नहीं थे. तो हमारे बंगाल में अभी हर जगह में हम अलग गर्ल्स टॉयलेट किए हैं, और along with the आंगनबाड़ी and the midday meal program, the girls toilet and the cleanliness and hygiene of that is something that is on the checklist of every school inspector. So ये हमने किया है. और I agree with you कि अगर हम नौजवान लड़कियों का, और एक्चुअली बच्ची है 10-11 साल में उनके पीरियड्स हो जाते, उनकी अगर देखभाल नहीं कर पाए और ये बेसिक राइट उनको स्कूल में जाने के लिए नहीं दे, So we can't call ourselves a civilized society. So I think this is something that they should be universal. But I have to say that I remember जब GST आया तो union government में sanitary napkins के भी ऊपर GST लगा दिया था, and it took I remember Sushmita Dev of the Congress led the campaign to get this removed. So this is something that we really need to get awareness of, and as much as civil society groups and groups like yours can also help in this, in states where the state government alone cannot do it, if NGOs can come and do it, that would be good. But we in Bengal have already are pretty high up on that part. But ये बहुत I would say a relevant question आपने किया है. देखिए मैं बंगाल से हूँ, और बंगाल एक ऐसी स्टेट, एक ऐसी राज्य है कि घर पे, स्कूल पे, हर जगह में ये कला, कल्चर, सोशल, इमोशनल ये बहुत स्ट्रांग है. बंगाल में हम जब छोटे थे हम लोग हंसते थे कि मुझे टॉर्चर लगता था कि डांस एंड सिंगिंग सीखना ही है. डांस, सिंगिंग, पेंटिंग हर बंगाली बच्चा को सीखना ही है. And today I realize that actually the value of this is but वो हमारे schools, government schools में भी ये होते हैं. But apart from that, what is very important in this is not just because, see, देखिए, we are, after all, no matter where we have come, we are still a poor country. There's no running away from the fact that we are a poor country. And there's many things. We can't become Finland overnight. We can't become Denmark overnight. And some states are richer than others. That is also a fact. And culturally and socially, we are in different places. Each state is almost like a mini country. So I think in this, what is very important, apart from what the Sarkaar policy is also to take in, like I see, where I'm speaking from now is in a village in my constituency where I live, and I can't compare this to Delhi or Calcutta. But even मैं जहाँ पे रह रही हूँ, यहाँ पे ये जो मोहल्ला है या जो पाड़ा है, यहाँ के भी एक कविता सोसाइटी है, यहाँ के भी एक बोशे आकुद बच्चे बैठ के पेंट कर रहे हैं, और बच्चों की कल्चरल एक्टिविटीज हो रहे हैं. So this is something I think not just Sarkar and not just through the school curriculum, this is something society and society groups can do very well also. I think this is something that really has to be imbibed more through the Samaaj part rather than through the Sarkar part or the markets part. So it's a good question, and one of the things I sometimes feel blessed that I am from the state of Bengal, where frankly I get a lot of gender questions. We always get it. What is it like to be a woman in politics? What is it like to be a woman MP? What is it like to be a woman this, woman that? And after a point, it annoys me, because I have grown up, and frankly, even in Bengal today as a society, we don't think of the word woman in front of who you are. Like if you're a parliamentarian, you're a parliamentarian. My gender doesn't define me, right? Rohini Nairkane is a philanthropist and a leader. It doesn't matter that she has breasts, frankly speaking. It really doesn't, right? So to put it rather funny, rather humorously, but that's basically where we come from. So I've always tried to stay out of that bracket where we are, because you don't ask a man, what are you as a male doctor? And you'll ask, say, as a female doctor. So I understand that, but it's high time we also start looking at ourselves as who we are, rather than letting the gender come in front. So I will speak as a parliamentarian or a leader, or rather than a female leader. And I will say that for me as a human being, what drives me and what I try to do is to do the right thing. And sometimes when you're part of a party, and this is something that is faced by most politicians or parliamentarians or MLAs who are a part of parties. If you haven't started your own party, which most of us have not, there are only a few people who have their own party, then whether you admit it or you don't, I'm being candid and admitting it. Most people say it in private, they don't say it outside. There are many occasions where the party whip or the party line is not something as a human being or as a person that I'm always in consonance with. But what do you do at that time? Look, we all work within systems. I used to be a banker with JP Morgan. And sometimes you may not like what the bank is doing. You may not like the advice that it's giving. You may not like that you're advising a government which is doing this. I remember at that time, in 2008, 2007, when we sold distressed debt bonds, poorly rated bonds that were transferred and sold to Swedish pension funds, and little old widowed women bought them and went bust. I mean, it's not to say that no banker knew what they were selling, but you still took your salary and your bonus and went home at the end of the day. So this is not something that just politicians deal with. It's people at every society deal with. Big doctors work in large hospitals. They know what the hospital is doing, charging poor patients. And they know that they are being charged for a syringe, for cotton wool, for this, for that. So everyone is part of a system sometimes that we don't always agree with.
But I think overall, I have the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, I have to do what's right. If me being somewhere where more than 80% of the time I can't do what's right, then I think I need to rethink. So I think that is my Lakshman Rekha, that 80% of the time, yes, sometimes my party or where I am politically, I don't agree with, but what I like to do at that time is to be quiet. Because it's not always fair on the party, because you are who you are. My identity is what I am because of my political affiliation. I'm elected on a ticket, as most people are. So if I'm elected on a ticket, it is not fair to say, oh, I, Mahua, feel this. And then that may not be what my party feels. I cannot be larger than that. So in those times, I think it is prudent and it is wise and mature to keep quiet. And in other times, to do what is right. So that's the policy I live with.
You can call this a good example or a bad example, depends how you look at it. But I saw, not in the first 2 months of the pandemic, the first phase, but I think after sort of 2 months of the pandemic, I actually saw how state government, I'm talking of, how state government, how, how state governments, how Samaaj, and how markets all shape together to basically provide a safety net and a welfare net for people. And that was, I would say, was the last example that I could think of. I remember I have a migrant outflow district. So I have 3 to 5 lakh. I had 3 to 5 lakh people stuck in various parts of the country. And at that time, we would see Samaaj when we would have, so a quick example of this is, I would call the district collector of Calicut or the district collector of Chennai. I would call, say, Kanimozi or someone I knew, a fellow parliamentarian. I would say, listen, can you give me your GM's number? I am stuck. I have 500 people of one labor who working with one contractor. Contractors left them and gone. They're left without food and water. They can't come back. This is their geolocation. So I tell them, I speak to the DM. The district magistrate or the collector gets in touch with his local people to say, okay, this is where they are. We can house them. We then speak to, say, a political friend or political leader or the MP of that area, who gets in touch with NGOs and Samaaj there, who actually provide cooked meals and everything to them. And, I think this was something that was Samaaj, Sarkaar, everyone working together at a pandemic level. But otherwise, everything we do is to make Samaaj, Sarkaar and markets work together. Everything that we do, if we're doing organic farming, it is something that is improving Samaj's intake of pesticide-free. It is creating a market for it where people can sell it. It is governments promoting subsidies and providing, help to also the National Horticultural Board and all the state governments providing help to organic farmers everywhere to help move away from pesticide farming. So that's another example. So we see this everywhere. I mean,